Ding ding. Oh my. Good morning, councillors, directors, the public listening in. We are about to start with the special council meeting on the 30th of March. Please make sure the attendance register is circulating. Everybody sign the attendance register. Is the attendance register circulating? Okay, so please make sure you are signing the attendance register. Yet again, as with all other proceedings, can we take a minute for silent prayer to reflect before we open and continue with the proceedings of the day? Starting now. Thank you. Amen. Currently, we are on point 2. We'll continue to point 3. Please note my office have received one application for leave. We, as you've noticed, seek an apology from the deputy mayor, who is busy with the rituals, which is not here today. So the leave has been granted. Point 4, the declaration of interest. Do you have any declaration from any councillors? Nothing. We continue to point 5, the confirmation of minutes for previous meetings. The special council meeting dated 27 February. The administration just assist us with the minutes, please.
We're busy with the minutes of the special council meeting of Monday, 27 February, starting on page 6. 7, 8, 9, 10, page 11, page 12, 13, 14, attendance registers 15, 16, 17, and 18, and that concludes the minutes.
Is there a true reflection of the minutes, councillors? Councillor Nell?
Speaker, I propose that we take the minutes as read and correct.
Opposed by Councillor Nell. Seconded by Kifwap. Councillor Wolofir. Next set is the minutes of the special council meeting dated 16 March 2023. Can you please assist us with the minutes of 16 March?
Starting at page 19. 20, 21, attendance registers and page 22, and attendance registers page 23, 24, and 25. That concludes the minutes.
Is that a true reflection of the minutes, councillors? Councillor Nyal?
Speaker, I propose that we take the minutes of 16 March as read and correct.
Opposed by Councillor Nyal. Councillor Kamkam?
Seconded, Speaker.
Seconded by Councillor Kamkam. Point 6, statements and communication by the Executive Mayor or the Speaker. Executive Mayor, do you have any communications?
Yes, thank you, Speaker. Speaker, We have council meetings to discuss the business of council, and these meetings are open meetings and the public's welcome to attend them. And it depends obviously on space availability in the council chambers, but these meetings are also broadcast to the public via YouTube, where they can be viewed at any time after the meeting by the public. But unfortunately, there are not many members of the public who do actually listen, and they often rely on hearsay and discussions around some topics in public meetings, and also what is dispersed on social media when someone's trying to make a point. It's concerning to me that some of the discussions in this council are misrepresented to the public by some organizations, and in this instance in particular by the Pledge Ratepayers Association Committee. In newsletters to members, these newsletters are then widely shared on social media. Many misrepresentations have been addressed with members of their committee in the past. The information in the newsletters have never been corrected, as one would expect them to do in the interest of correctness. At a meeting with some of the Pledge Ratepayers Association Committee on the 13th of March, certain inaccuracies in their latest newsletter around the end of February, after our last council meeting around the approval of a 35 million municipality, were highlighted to them. Unfortunately, they once again have not seen fit to correct this information to their members to date. I find it necessary to address these inaccuracies here to set the record straight. The inaccuracies advised to them for clarity are as follows. The first point that they made is that the DA-led coalition approved taking up of a loan of 35.5 million rand. The current governing council is a coalition of 3 political parties, and in no way DA-led, as the Ratepayers Association Committee has put it. The DA may well have the majority of councillors in the coalition, but cannot make decisions if the other 2 coalition partners do not agree with them. Any decisions about the direction of Bitou Municipality are made on the basis of an agreement between 3 political parties on the issue at hand. This is the nature of coalitions, agreement of the parties in decisions. Any council decision also includes input from all 13 councillors of 6 political parties represented, and this is usually done through discussions in the portfolio committees, in MACO, and also in council. The second point that they claim is they say that the loan was claimed to be for capital expenditure. But if that was the case, then why didn't they prioritize service delivery over ever increasing of employee costs and non-essential expenditure? In essence, they are saying that the loan we intend taking is not for service delivery items. But if you look at the list of items that were clearly put out for the public to see, we will see that there are in fact service delivery items. It is for water treatment works, wastewater, electricity for informal settlements, and stormwater drains and other capital projects and service delivery items. So clearly itemized and service delivery orientated. The statement of the Ratepayers Association Committee then incorrectly alludes otherwise. Another comment of theirs is what you also failed to say was that the letters, certainly the ones we saw, were well motivated and many written by experienced persons. So these are the objections that the municipality received to the loan. While some of the letters may have been written by experienced persons, many of the objections received were slanderous, claiming that current councillors and the Bitou administration are corrupt and want to steal the money, did not know what they were doing, etc. This rhetoric is certainly not a well-motivated reason regarding the current council and administration. Based on the number of such allegations, it appears that this is a message that is given out to members. No mention is made that Bitou Municipality have in fact appointed capable directors in key positions and are working hard to address many inherited problems. The objections received are all listed in the addendums to the agenda for the meeting that was held on the 27th of February this year, as well as a detailed response from the acting CFO, a copy of the Treasury recommendations is also available as part of the documents. The fourth item, which is incorrect, it says it was evident from the debate that none of the councillors, with the exception of ANC Councillor Gabai, had given any of the objections nor the actual implications any thought. By the time most items come to council, they've been through a lot of discussion. The loan was discussed in portfolio meetings, in MACO meetings, in budget steering committee meetings, as well as council meetings. A lot of thought and discussion went into the decision, even removing some items as per the public suggestions that was part of the public participation process. This loan was also part of the approved budget for the 2022-2023 financial year. It was part of the public participation process then. No objection to the loan was raised then. The budget clearly shows that Bitou will require a loan of 37.8 million in order to meet its commitments on capital projects. This because Bitou Municipality does not have any reserve funds with which to finance these projects. Because it was part of the approved budget, some of the supply chain processes are already underway. Should these then have been stopped and the expense associated with them become irregular expenditure? They also say the decision was opposed by all 6 opposition councillors. This is in fact not true. The loan was opposed by the 4 ANC councillors, and in fact the IPM councillor verbally supported the loan. So it's incorrect for them to say that all 6 opposition councillors opposed the loan. What the Ratepayers Association Committee seemingly ignores is that we're in this position where we need to fund capital projects with borrowings because the previous ANC council that used own funding for capital projects, and that has been drained. They also did not set aside money for certain projects. In other words, the closure of the dump that cost 25 million rand, and that had been used from own funds as no money had been set aside for this known expense. No money was set aside for reserves at all in the previous term. We are slowly building up some reserves again. Another concerning trend by the Ratepayers Association Committee that has now occurred for the 3rd time in recent months is to sensationalize items that have been advertised for public participation and to encourage their members to flood the mailboxes of the municipal manager and the mayor with concerns instead of following the normal processes that are advertised. This happened with the incorrect interpretation of how a money circle operates, the loan information that was part of the public participation process, and now with the properties that Bitou Municipality wants to free up for development by private companies who are looking for space to bring investment to Bitou that will help with growing our economy and the creation of jobs. Some of these properties were in fact made available for development to particular developers many years ago, and the permissions have lapsed. Objections are dealt with through a proper process and dealt with through a particular person that is always advised through the public participation process. This current council is the most transparent with regards to information and what it does than any former council that Bitou Municipality has had. This is evident in the additional reports that come to council with information on what is done and what it intends to do, as well as the public participation processes that it follows. It does not go about its business with devious intentions that other previous councils may have had. It is time that this is recognized and more credit is given to this administration as well for what they are trying to do to save this municipality. The negative sentiment that is continuously portrayed does not do any good for this institution nor for the image of Plettenberg Bay. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah.
We'll continue to point.
Speaker, good morning, councillors. I'm raising on Rule 45, point of explanation. Speaker, I just want to find out from yourself under which rule that we cannot ask the mayor questions from his statement, because it might happen that his statement have some inconsistencies. So I want to find out from you as a Speaker of the Council, under which rule that we cannot ask him questions.
I haven't, to be honest, I haven't seen a point even in the rules of order that make mentioning of such.
That we cannot ask him questions.
No, there's no explanation. Even in the rules of order, I've many times tried.
So we can ask him questions.
No, I'm not sure. I can't say yes or no today, but it's not in the rules of order. In terms of, I must also say what I've anticipated in terms of my role based on the discretion that I can say yes or no.
Thank you very much. I'm satisfied with that explanation, that based on his discretion, so that we ask you that he can take questions from his statement moving forward. I don't want to ask a question now.
That's something I'm also battling to find, because sometimes I must say I'm worried when it goes to statements. Am I allowed to enter there or not? But that's something I'm going to get, because I've specifically looked through the rules, but I didn't see anything there. Thank you, Councillor Flana. We continue to point 7. There's no presentations. Point 8. Items for information which has been dealt with by the Executive Mayor in terms of delegated authority. That will be circulated at the next item, at the next council meeting of April. We'll continue to point 9. Noting of outstanding and partially implemented council resolutions, which we will also be dealing with at the ordinary council meeting in April. Then we will continue to point 10, the consideration of reports, non-delegated matters in the portfolio of index. We will start off with section 1 under the office of the municipal manager. First item, it is item C, stroke 1, stroke 131, stroke 03, stroke 23. The section 57 mid-year performance evaluation report from 1st of July 2022 to 31st December 2022. You would find the item on page 30. The item is now serving. Councillor Nell,
I propose that we take note of the report, Speaker.
proposed by Councillor Nell. Seconded by Councillor Olivier.
Speaker.
Executive Mayor.
Just a correction, it's a minor thing, but in the background, the first sentence reads, municipal management section 556 employees, should be section 56. This is a minor correction.
Background, it says, that says there, or it says 556.
Yeah, it should be 56, correct.
Remember, make sure we remove the 15. The next item. Item C, stroke 1, stroke 132, stroke 03, stroke 23. The section 57, 2021-2022 full year performance evaluation report. You would find the item on page 39. Page 39, the item is now serving. Councillor Nell.
Speaker, I propose that we take note of the report.
By Councillor Nell.
Recommendation of the Executive Mayor.
Councillor Olivier. Seconded by Councillor Olivier. Third item under the office of the municipal manager. Item C, stroke 1, stroke 133, stroke 03, stroke 23. The report from the Audit and Performance Audit Committee, page 48. The item is now serving. Councillor Nell.
Speaker, I propose that we take note of the recommendation and note the report, but I suggest that we look carefully at the recommendations of the Audit Committee, particularly referring to repeat findings that have been done in the past.
Councillor Nell. Councillor Olivier,
I'll second.
seconded by Councillor Olivier. Next item, item C, stroke 1/135, stroke 03, stroke 23. The appointment of a councillor to serve on the vacant councillor positions of the Finance and Corporate Service Portfolio and Municipal Public Accounts Committee. You would find the item on page 54. The item is now serving. Councillor Nyal,
Speaker, I propose that we appoint the newly appointed PA councillor,
Councillor Heinrich Mitchell.
Councillor Heinrich Mitchell. Thank you for correcting me. And Councillor, I apologize that I can't memorize your name quite accurately quite yet. But I propose that we appoint him to those positions, those vacancies.
Proposed by Councillor Nyal that we elect Councillor Heinrich Mitchell, seconded by Councillor Olivier. So Councillor Heinrich Mitchell is elected to serve on the finance committees and the impact. Can we please make sure that we circulate a schedule of meetings for the councillor after this, so that he can attend? Thank you. Next item. Item C, stroke 1/1136, stroke 03, stroke 23. A revised draft 2023-2024 integrated development plan. You would find the item on page 55. The annexure is starting at the, Tanya, is that at page 5?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. The item is now serving.
I propose that we go with the recommendation of the full manager in the maker committee.
Proposed by Councillor Nyal. Councillor Olivier,
I'll second.
next item. In my discretion. C1, stroke 1/137, stroke 03, stroke 23. The municipal, sorry, sir.
Can I just understand what's going on?
It's an addendum.
Sorry, where are you going?
You do.
This is in council meeting. You wait and ask for the speaker to give you permission. We're not gonna tolerate this decorum of.
Then see them moving there.
Don't move when the speaker is on the table. You raise your hand and ask the speaker.
Thanks. Before we continue, would you like to be excused?
Yes.
Excused? We are on item C, stroke 1/137, stroke 03, stroke 23. The Municipal Public Accounts Committee Oversight Report for 2021-2022 financial year. You would find the item on page 197. The item is now serving. Chairperson.
Special greetings to everybody in the council. As we can see from page 1 of page 7, up to page 7, in fact, it's more this legislative part of always explaining why we're here. Just a reminder that we're a council committee, so we've been tasked by the council to go and do oversight as it is the legislation. So whilst we did it, we looked at it, Speaker, and we find things that we can look at. And we agree that all according to what is supposed to be done, it was done. It was unaudited format did came to the administrators and the council. It was taken back and it was interrogated. It came back to us on the 31st of January. Then on the 31st January, it was sent to us as OMPEC. So amongst those things, we do agree that OAPEC did file its report. Performance team did file its report. Auditor General report was included. I would only just want to mention some few things, and also the report from the provincial treasurer did came. In format and content, it was well. They only spoke about the forward, saying that since the executive mayor and the municipal manager, they are the front of, they are our face of the municipality. So there are items that are very seriously to be included, executive mayor, in the forward. So they've mentioned those things because we need to be able to talk about our financial wellness. We need to talk about our service delivery. We need to tackle the things of the BEE. We need to talk about the strategic alignments that we're doing. All those things, they must be in the forward. I'm only standing here to say, to emphasize more in the forward, because they are the front of our council. Anyone who decides to come to play it, mainly they will go to our annual report and they will see our forwarding. So if our forwarding addresses all the concerns, the securities, the financial liabilities, how do we do our cash flowing and all those things makes anyone to take a decision and see the wellness of the town in all forms. So that's a format and content. When we come to performance, it says, as much that the service delivery performance was 55.8%, there was a sacrifice of 44% that was not well done. And of which in that one, I'm still standing here emphasizing that from here forward, we need to emphasize our service delivery very much so, because that's what we're here for, performance. When we align ourselves with our S56, Section 56 directives. It says that our municipality, there were 3 targets that our municipality performed exceptionally well. I was glad to hear that we could do things exceptionally well. The building a capable and corrupt-free administration. 2, the spatially integrated areas. And thirdly, the managing expenditure prudently. Even if we might not see now, even if the report of 2021, 2022 doesn't attest to this, but somewhat part of that, it says there was some strategies that were put in place that says managing expenditure prudently. Those things the municipality did well. As much that the largest number of targets has not been achieved under a provision of basic service delivery, it says the municipality must provide clear and comprehensive reasons for the non-achievement of basic service delivery targets in order to formulate appropriate corrective measures in order to improve service delivery. Whatever we do, we need to be accountable. One of the things that makes us to have the annual report is for us to report and it's for us to be accountable, you know. So to be accountable, it's one of the factors that make us to have the annual report. So in whatever thing, if we didn't do things right, we need to say, how are we going to correct that? In the Auditor General report, we know the Auditor General will always zoom to the service delivery aspects. How are we handling our waters? How are we handling our electricity? And how do we handle the issues of the overtime, the workers, the labor relations, things? So I would say that our electricity, at least it's better, it was better from the previous report, and the water losses was one of the concerns. So I would also say here that as much that we say that we need to have these basic services, but at the same time, we need to look at them and devise means to save those things. Then again, the expenditure management, it says reasonable steps were not taken to prevent irregular expenditure. We hope that moving forward, we look at those things. Reasonable steps were not taken to prevent unauthorized expenditure. As a result, in my report, when I was putting a suggestion of good practice, it was saying some of the things that makes us to have the unauthorized things, it's when we don't focus in our delegation register. We need to make ourselves to close the delegation register to know who's supposed to do what, who's supposed to do what, in order we avoid unauthorized. And as much as, even with, when it comes to a suggestion of a good practice, we need to make much emphasis to read our Circular 63 of National Treasury, where it states very clearly, Mr. Mayor, about when the unaudited annual report must come to us, when it must go back. And in that Circular 63, they advise very well that we wish that things start exactly on August, it ends on December, so that we deal with all the items in that year instead of spinning over to March as we are doing now. So we need to go back to the roots where we know on August, the unaudited one, firstly, it must come to the committees of the council. It goes to APEC, it comes to internal audit, to APEC, and also to MPEC. We look at it because they say it assisted very well in the reviewing of the IDP and the processes that are starting on September. So if we can keep that alignment, it will make us to be much better. So those were the suggestions of good practice. And also, we must always know that the consequence management must happen. For us to be in a better situation so that we can be perceived by national treasurer or provincial treasurer, consequence management must happen, and we must come back and account about it. Another good practice, the rules of order, Mr. Speaker, we must implement them in a kosher way, where it should avoid the risk of blocking a meaningful participation. The whole world is looking at us now. So when we are dealing with the items, we must be very much kosher into allowing a meaningful debate so that people can see what is happening. And again, the public participation, Mr. Mayor, in a form of imbizo. It is very much, it needs to be done intensely, widely, and inclusively. Fortunately, even in your speech, you were saying about this whole thing that is becoming now a norm in trade, where people are just doing your rumors and everything, bad publication and everything. But the only thing to quench those fires is for us to move from this council chamber and we go to our people and meet them and we do our imbizos. We always alert people about the status of our council. That is the most thing, so that the public participation, we could hear the public hearings, we can know what people are expecting. We can confidently tell them about the status of our council. So that is a suggestion of good practice. But all in all is to say.
Sorry, Council, can you please listen to this council on the floor, please?
What we're listening.
But all in all is to say, in conclusion, that we need to also focus towards internal auditors are bringing to us and what APEC. It was better to realize that they are saying more things that they have talked about, they've alert us about, but we continuously do them. So we need to respect those systems because they were placed in our system by legislature in a purpose to guide us as this council. So I'm here standing, placing the recommendations that are saying the council will consider this annual report and you are placing here without reservations. 2, after 7 days, the public must know about this annual report. Our municipal manager must make sure, our administration must make sure that it is in the public within 7 days. And thirdly, we're saying here the accounting officer must submit this oversight report to the provincial legislation within 7 days. Fourthly, that the accounting officer develops an action plan to address all issues raised by Auditor General. And clearly indicating the corrective action and timeframes of that. And our 5th recommendation says that the progress report of a plan mentioned in bullet 4 above must be submitted to Council and Municipal Public Accounts Committee on quarterly basis. On the 6th bullet that we're asking is a recommendation that Council takes note of the responses of the public. The public has responded, as we can see in Annexure A, we've got our circular, we've got our Annexure C, we've got our proof that we did take and inform the communities that our annual report is in the libraries everywhere. Then people has responded. So within 14 days, MM would love you to respond to all those concerns that were raised. And I do believe already you have been working on it to respond on them. So we would love to see those responses. As I'm sitting here is to say, let's make ourselves a favor as councillors and also as administrators to read our circular 63, so that every time we adhere to things, because our main focus is to see ourselves getting a clean audit. At this moment, I'm proud to say that we present that council has what down this got a findings that says it's an unqualified findings with our unqualified status with findings. So we need to improve our findings. I therefore present this report with no reservations. These are the recommendations. I thank you.
Councillor Now.
Speaker, thank you, Councillor, for what you explained quite well and quite eloquently what it's all about. And I will sit in this.
Thank you, Councillor Now. Just to refresh everybody's mind, during the SALGA meetings, it is continuously mentioned that we allow impact on reports sufficient time. You will note that the rules of order state councillor may only speak once for 5 minutes, but when it comes to impact, we must allow sufficient time for the report to be discussed or produced to council. Hence, you notice she was given more time. These are recommendations from SALGA as well. So therefore, you would notice she exceeded her time, but in terms of the report, we allow her to go on. Thank you. The next item is the agenda. Item C, stroke 1, stroke 138, stroke 03, stroke 23, the request for re-advertisement process for the filling of position of Director Corporate Service. You would find the item on page 233. The item is now serving. Okay. Can you please explain?
Thanks, Speaker. Council will note that we taken a decision to re-advertise this position. We were busy with the process of shortlisting for the 3 director position. In the shortlisting of the Director Corporate Services, the Director Corporate Service of Mossel Bay, who was a panelist member, cautioned that we must just be careful because they experience similar thing where after they've done the process, they sent the information to local government. It was then sent back and rejected and were forced to re-advertise. So we then agreed that we proceed with the shortlisting, the understanding that the municipal manager of Bitou Municipality must contact from his agent. The shortlisting was last week, last week. So I did then interact with HOD Ida last week in the water in the harbour to then that they referred me to Kamal Melanie. He then stated that we need to change the council resolution. If you recall, last year this council debated the issue of the term of the directors. That was before 1st of November. Debated and said, you know, this if we want to do stability, but our maximum should be 10 years and not more than that. So all positions have been advertised in terms of that council resolution. Unfortunately, councillors, 1st of November came. We need to rescind that decision. All directors must double check, also myself, the legislation, you know, we don't want to find ourselves where we slightly have a different interpretation. We've opted to bring it to the attention of council that all position advert must be changed, that it must be permanent. It's only the municipal manager
It makes 5 years.
remains 5 years. That is the national legislation changes such. And all municipalities now are actually forced to do that. Then province reject it if you then appoint. The interpretation is now what happens with the Director Engineering and Director Community Services. They remain on a 10-year contract because they were appointed before 1st of November 2022. Until their contract end, council can look at that in terms of towards whether they extend that contract. or issue. But the rest of all other directors must be permanent. So that's why we're doing these three items, and also the two items that there must be additional acting
Extensions, yes.
extensions. Thanks, people.
Thanks, Amy. With the explanation in front of us, the item is still serving. Councillor Kamkam,
I propose this, Speaker, sorry. Speaker, I propose that we go with the recommendations to be in line with the amendments in the Municipal Structures Act, as recommended by the municipal manager.
proposed by Councillor Kamkam. Councillor Ndai, seconded by Councillor Ndai. Next item, item C, stroke 1/139/03/23. The request for re-advertisement process for the filling of position of Director Planning and Development. Item is on page 239. Item is now serving. No, it's all for the positions that will be mentioned now. Councillor Nyal,
Speaker, it's the same item as the previous, it's a different director that go with the recommendations, same reason.
proposed by Councillor Nyal. Councillor Olivier, seconded. Next item, item C, stroke 1/140/03/23. Request for re-advertisement process for the filling of position of Director Financial Service. Item is on page 245. It's the very same principle. Item is now serving. Councillor Nyal,
Speaker, once more, it's the same reasons, the same type of item, it's just a different director. Again, I propose that we go with the recommendations once more.
proposed by Councillor Nyal. Seconded by Councillor Olivier. Next item, item C, stroke 1/141/03/23. It is the extension of acting appointment for Director Corporate Service from 1st April 2023 until 30 June 2023. The item is on page 251. The item is now serving. Councillor Nyal,
Speaker, this is an outflow of the re-advertising, and therefore go with the recommendations. I propose that we go with the recommendations of the municipal manager and extend the appointment of Mr. Crouch in the position.
proposed by Councillor Nyal, seconded by Councillor Olivier. Next item, item C, stroke 1/142/03/23. The extension of acting appointment of Director Financial Service for the period 1st April 2023 until 30 June 2023. Item is on page 258. Item is now serving. Councillor Nyal,
Speaker, once more, it is an outflow of the previous advertisement problem that we had. I propose we go with the recommendation of the municipal manager and extend the appointment of Mr. Lawton.
proposed by Councillor Nyal. Councillor Kamkam, seconded by Councillor Kamkam. That deals with the Office of the Municipal Manager. Next section, section 2 is finance. First item under finance, it is item C, stroke 2/109/03/23. It is the tabling of draft annual budget 2023, 2024, 2025, 2026 medium-term revenue and expenditure framework. Page 59. Is it been circulated? Okay. Thank you very much. The item is serving. Executive Mayor.
Thank you, Speaker. I think I just need to go through items on this. So I'd just like to say, Honourable Speaker, Deputy Mayor, who is absent today, members of the Mayoral Committee, councillors, Municipal Manager, directors, guests, ladies and gentlemen, as well as people that are listening to us remotely. Good morning to everyone. The budget tabled yet today was compiled under the most challenging circumstances that were forced upon us through a combination of the failing state, extreme and prolonged energy crisis that was brought on through years of neglect and mismanagement of the national government's cash cow, namely Eskom, the effect of the COVID-19 pandemic that is still felt in various sectors of the local economy, especially tourism and construction, that represent a significant portion of the local GDP, as well as years of neglect of the financial, institutional, and operational affairs of the municipality, brought upon us through the struggle for power and control of the municipality. We've persevered through the most challenging of times, the hard lockdown, civil unrest in July 2021, 120 days of load shedding in 2022, and we've endured load shedding with the exception of 3 days for every single day in 2023. We've navigated our way through the early days of the 5th Municipal Council of Bitou since the dawn of democracy, and I'm indeed thankful and privileged to be able to be here today before you and present the budget and the related documents for the 2023-2024 financial year for consideration and participation. We're walking baby steps to drag the municipality away from the abyss that the previous council leadership has put us in. And with each gain we make, we're confronted with imminent challenges that have been slumbering for a number of years. The proverbial chickens have come out to roost, and the momentum we need to move forward is continuously interrupted by having to deal with the legacy of the past. The economic gains that were made post-pandemic and the July 2021 unrest were reversed by the prolonged effect that load shedding has had on the local, provincial, and national economy. The extent of which has had such profound impact that we're currently facing the possibility of an economic recession that will further put pressure on the ability of the municipality to deliver services, as well as the households and businesses to pay for these services. We've succeeded through these most difficult times and have delivered our commitment to provide our communities with top-class and reliable services and to create an environment suitable for investment and economic progression of our residents. The term of the new council provides us with another opportunity to deliver on our service delivery mandate as we continue to strive to improve the livelihood of our communities. We appreciate the contribution that our community makes to the municipality, its processes and its finances. And I can assure you that we, as the custodians of the public funds, continue to exercise the utmost care when utilizing financial and other public resources in the delivery of services to our communities. Economic growth forecasts for 2023 remain bleak, and the Reserve Bank has forecast a gross domestic product growth of 0.3% in 2023, with a 0.5% estimate for 2024 and a 1% growth predicted for 2025. The National Treasury remains more bullish with a forecasted 1.4% growth over the medium term. The economic growth for 2023 is expected to be only 0.9%. Inflation remains at the higher end of the Reserve Bank's target, and the Reserve Bank has already increased interest rates by 350 basis points since November 21, adding to the woes of consumers through the increased cost of borrowing, the increase in the cost of living, and the resultant diminishing disposable household income. Inflation reached 7% at the end of February 2023, and it's forecast to remain between 3 and 6% over the term of this budget. It seems as if we have fortunately reached the plateau in respect of interest rate hikes. The Minister of Finance in his budget speech confirmed that the South African economy has been through a number of tough years and are contending with various obstacles such as the aftermath of the pandemic, unemployment, the prolonged electricity crisis, as well as the disruptions in the freight and logistic networks. All the aforementioned collectively adding to the dismal state of our economy. The initial prediction of economic recovery by 2023 that was made by National Treasury in 2021 did not materialize because of the electricity crisis that has negated any gains that were made post-COVID-19 pandemic. A huge task rests on the shoulders of local government to find innovative ways to navigate around the failures of state and to ensure the improvement of the livelihoods of the communities that we serve. In this budget year, the municipality will aim to consolidate its position and move forward stronger and be more resilient to tackle the challenges that lie before us and to improve service delivery through focusing financial resources where it's needed most. Allow me to provide a brief summary of Bitou Municipality's budget. The operating revenue budget, excluding capital transfers and contribution, amounts to 897,732,277 rand. The bulk of the income is derived from asset assessment rates and user charges. Operational expenditure from owned funds amounts to 855,300,894 rand, with the main two categories of operational expenditure being salary-related expenditure and bulk purchases. These account for 60.11% of the total operational expenditure. The municipality is eager to enhance its service delivery offering to its communities and is therefore focusing on basic service delivery as our core mandate in budgetary allocations. The following has been budgeted for service delivery items. Electricity will receive 258,503,761 rand. Water services, 74,052,803 rand. Wastewater management receives 62,328,549 rand. Roads and stormwater, 38,211,608 rand. And solid waste management receive an allocation of 71,964,979 rand. For the 2023 financial year, community general services, social services, sport and recreation, public safety and housing are allocated a combined total of 145,381,783 rand for the financial year. This direct allocation to service delivery departments account for 72.52% total annual budget. The capital budget amounts to 105,012,105 rand. The capital budget once again focuses on infrastructure development. 92.28% of the capital budget is therefore allocated to community and engineering services infrastructure, which include the municipal vehicle fleet. We are processing and increasing capital investment to create capacity for future development and to replace aging infrastructure as well as the aging fleet that have caused service delivery disruptions. Infrastructure spending in the capital budget will be allocated as follows. Water services infrastructure, 27,349,759 rand. Electricity, 23,740,689 rand. Sanitation services, 20,646,453 rand. And roads infrastructure, 7,969,129 rand. Vehicle fleet replacement, 17,200,000 rand, which is included in the aforementioned figures. Sport, recreation, community and social projects are allocated 3,879,606 rand, and the remainder of the capital budget consists of machinery, computers, backup power systems, furniture and equipment needed in the delivering of services to our communities. This all amounts to 4,226,469 rand. In accordance with the capital funding mix strategy, a new loan of 39,450,000 rand will be taken up in the 2023-2024 financial year. Further own funding in the capital replacement reserve in the amount of 31,226,887 rand will be added to fund the capital budget, in addition to the amount of 34,335,218 rand in grant receipts for the 2023-2024 financial year. Employee-related costs remain a major component of the municipal budget. The municipality has taken cognizance of the current economic environment, as well as the affordability threshold with which consumers and ratepayers are confronted. Municipality is bound by the collective bargaining process, and we have no alternative but to make provision for 5.4% general salary adjustment. Employee-related cost as a percentage of total expenditure, inclusive of an 8.86 million rand allocation to the EPWP program, of which 1.88 million is subsidized, equals to 37.11%, and is within the norm for this category of expenditure. If the EPWP portion is excluded, percentage equals 36.1%. It will be carefully managed over this year to ensure that it remains within acceptable limits. The aftermath of the pandemic, coupled with prolonged energy crisis, has placed pressure on the municipal budget, and revenue streams continue to diminish and remain difficult to collect, as there's a lack of economic opportunity for the community. The municipality was forced at the onset of the pandemic to implement lower than normal tariff increases, although the cost of rendering the services were exponentially higher than the revenue received from it. Decisions made in setting tariffs have proved ineffective over the last number of years, and we're therefore in the current budget cycle faced with the difficult task of having to play catch-up and increase tariffs above average to ensure that the financial well-being of the municipality is protected and to ensure that the actual cost of rendering the services are recovered from those making use of the services. National Treasury directs municipalities to motivate tariff increases that are higher than the upper end of the estimated inflation rate, and we have therefore included a comprehensive paragraph for each tariff increase in the executive summary of the main budget document. The continued increase in the price of electricity remains a huge concern, and nurses confirmed that the ESCOM increase to municipalities will be 18.49%, which will result in a tariff increase of approximately 15.65% to the end user. It needs to be emphasized that the final municipal tariff increase will only be determined once the final tariff increase is confirmed by the National Energy Regulator. We remain resolute in our focus on the delivery of the core municipal services through the application of efficient and effective service delivery mechanisms and the application of management strategies to continue to improve our service delivery offering and make Bitou a destination of choice for our communities, visitors, and investors alike. The application of prudent financial management principles in the compilation of the municipal final financial plan is not only essential, but critical to ensure that Bitou Municipality remains financially viable and that sustainable municipal services are provided economically and equitably to all communities. We will therefore continue to strive to improve the quality of life for everyone that lives and works in the area of Bitou Municipality. The economic reality has led us to ensure that the most vulnerable are taken care of through the indigent subsidization program. And I once again like to invite everyone that qualifies for indigent subsidy to apply for the assistance that is available. Qualifying indigent households receive a support package consisting of 50 units of free electricity, 6,000 litres of free water, as well as 100% subsidy on standard household refuse and sewage tariff per month. Basic charges in respect of these services will also be exempt. Households with a combined household income of less than 5,000 rand per month will qualify for the subsidy. In addition thereto, households with a municipal valuation of 350,000 or less will be exempted from the payment of assessment rates. We continue to pursue and encourage community participation in programs, plans, and strategies to ensure that our plans are in line with community needs. I'd therefore like to urge all stakeholders, members of the public, and interested parties to participate in the budget process by attending the community IDP and budget meetings and to provide input in the budget and the IDP process. Your input is valued and necessary to ensure accountability and transparency in these very important processes. In conclusion, I'd like to thank members of the Budget Steering Committee, the Municipal Manager, the Acting Chief Financial Officer, and the staff of the IDP and budget officers, directors, and other personnel who were involved in compiling the draft budget and related documents tabled here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Here.
That is the tabling of the speech on the draft budget. Executive Mayor,
Propose we go with the recommendation.
thank you, Mayor. Proposed by the Executive Mayor, Councillor Nell,
I will second, ma'am.
seconded by Councillor Nell. That's it for section 2. And if not, no items under corporate service. Section 4, community service. First item, it's item C, stroke 4, stroke 61, stroke 02, stroke 23, the establishment of Bitou Community Safety Forum, page 62. The item is now serving. Councillor Ndai,
Speaker, we go with the recommendation that is on page 16.
proposed by Councillor Ndai. Is that your hand, Councillor Koloapi? Councillor Koloapi?
I second it.
Seconded by Councillor Koloapi. Next item, it's item C, stroke 4, stroke 66, stroke 02, stroke 23. The Integrated Human Settlements Pipeline Project Progress Report. The item is on page 105. The item is now serving. Any- The recommendations. Councillor Ndaya, is for your hand.
Yes, Speaker, if there's no question, I'll go with the recommendation that is on page 109.
Proposed by Councillor Ndaya. Councillor Olafir.
Speaker, I want to second this recommendation, but I just want to make a comment with it. Although the Kransu community is not part of the housing pipeline projects, we have identified property in Kransuk, 2 properties in Kransuk and other residential areas to look at developing housing projects there. It's escalated and to province, and hopefully we will be getting all those projects in place soon in Kransuk. I just want to mention that because some of the information said that Kransuk is not included. I want public and everybody to be clear that we do have housing projects that will be happening in Kransuk. Thank you. I've seconded that recommendation.
Thank you. The item is seconded. Councillor Olafir. Next item, item C, stroke 4, stroke 69, stroke 03, stroke 23, the Bitou Municipality Standardized Western Cape Disaster Management Plan. The item is on page 111. Item is now serving. Councillor Ndai.
Thank you, Speaker. I'll go with the recommendation that is on page 113. If there's no question, Speaker.
Is that your hand, Councillor Koloapi?
Yes, I second it.
Seconded by Councillor Koloapi. Next item. Sorry, Evan?
Something we miss administratively here. I think is important. That we must have a machine which speaks to the updating of the ICP. Often speaks to this plan. Is that so? We can approve with that amendment on the recommendations that the IDP be amended to. Plan.
Is a suggestion.
This plan be included in there.
Yeah.
Thank you. Next item. Item C, stroke 4, stroke 71, stroke 03, stroke 23. The demand for land with services by Kwanakatula backyard dwellers. Item is on page 211. The item is now serving. Councillor Sethi, is it your end? Yes.
Thank you very much, Speaker, and good morning, councillors and officials. Speaker, I just want to express my dissatisfaction on this, on the recommendations on the item of the backyard dwellers. as it is stated on this report that I was called by the backyard dwellers. What I did, I convened a meeting with the human settlement manager, which is Fezile. We talked about it. And we also called a meeting with the backyard dwellers, where he said to the backyard dwellers that we will take the item to the council as it is here now. My dissatisfaction on this item is that when I look on the recommendations, it is only saying that noted. It is saying noting. I just want to ask that, should I go back to the back dwellers and say the council is saying noted? And then also, I would like to request that this item should be debated here in the by the council. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Setis. First, Councillor Mangaba, then Councillor Nyal, then Councillor Ndai.
Thank you, Speaker. If we were to just be honest with ourselves, information that is actually received in these imbizos and these gatherings with regards to integrated human settlements or housing by that is always speaking on RDP and nothing else but that. And in essence, the reason why we have backyard dwellers, the reason why I think even as the municipality, under public safety, there is actually an anti-land invasion team. It is because the municipality is quite aware that our people now are actually forcefully taking over our land to build. This is purely because there is no consideration for middle class. This is a conversation that is ongoing, but nothing is ever done about it. You sit at these meetings and all you ever hear about is the threshold of between 0 to 3.5. Come on, we are living in 2023. You will find that majority of people staying in our communities, even though they're working for either the hospitality industry or retail, they're not earning 3.5, they're earning beyond that. However, they can't afford bonds. Moreover, we are actually surrounded by professionals, your nurses, your educators, your people from SEPs. These people are actually in our communities. Those are the people that are actually not fitting into that spectrum, or rather the caliber of people that are actually considered by RDP. When this call came about, I was positive that there was actually a meeting that was convened. For what? For noting. Or do we, for our people to be taken seriously, do we take it to the streets again? Do we close off N2? Is that the culture now that we are accustomed to in this municipality? Because in essence, there is no conversation around site and service, no conversation around FLIS. The last I asked of the official from the integrated human settlements to actually speak of FLIS, and he was like, no, according to his books, there was not really much of a need for it because of applications. We know that the provincial and the national sphere of government, with regards to funds, we need to create a need for those funds to be made available. What are we doing about it? Are we still sending our people to actually go apply for 35 houses? I'm really displeased as well.
What if let me just do the councillors? Yeah. Councillor Ndel.
Speaker, recommendation number 2 clearly says that the presentation needs to be made to the correct portfolio committee, which is the process one follows to investigate and to come to council investigation. It's not just for that. And therefore I propose we go with the recommendation. Thank you.
Everything. Okay, Councillor. Guys, there was a request that we debate this through. I will use my discretion on this matter, although the presentation or recommendation number 2 is clear there. So for those that wish to engage on this matter, I will allow, but I will also give to the municipal manager and the director of human settlements to explain on this. So let us please listen the views on this matter and then we can make a decision. Councillor Kamka?
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I do concur with Councillor Sam that there is definitely a gap. I do acknowledge that in my engagements that community services or the housing department had, the options were explained. And the communities were also explained, the community will also explain that further engagement will happen to explain to them the different options. And we know from national, provincial, and at the local level, things are shifting now. Yes, it is quite correct. In the past, IDP has been presented as the only option, but from national to provincial level, different systems and options has been tabled now. And it is expected of us at local government level to follow process, that same process. I also want to concur with Councillor Nell. I think present recommendation number 2, it does say that it will go to the portfolio to look at the availability of land. And I also want to say that we understand the plea of communities because we all sit with that problem. I mean, basically in my ward, I sit with another problem altogether where we've got informal settlements where people are in dire need of services and of housing. So we acknowledge there is a need in the community, and that's why we are presenting option recommendation number 2. It's not to say that as a council, we are urgently of the people, or we are not going to look into the option of getting land available to plan us. So I am, from my point of view, I'm satisfied with the recommendations.
Let me first give to the executive mayor, then Councillor Ndai.
Thank you, Speaker. Yes, the councillor's right there. The focus has in the past been on RDP and not on people that are actually earning more than that threshold. And the director can probably correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that has been identified in coming housing developments that a portion of those developments are set aside as well for site and service and for FLISP housing. There are also private developments in the pipeline, and one of the items in our agenda regarding Pisang Valley Road is a key to that development happening. That's a private development that will release somewhere in the region of 300 units for rental for people in those earning categories. So there are things being planned for it because it was something identified. And I've, on many occasions in the previous council, commented here that there's a lack of rental space for people and also a lack of accommodation and assistance for people earning more than the 3,500 rand threshold for the RDP housing. So as far as I'm aware, there are these plans in place, but the director can probably give more information on that. Thank you, Speaker.
Just before we close, Councillor Ndai, and then I'm going to give to the 2 directors.
Thank you, Speaker. I don't want to repeat what my colleagues have said, Speaker. I will second Councillor Hill. Thank you.
Okay, I will allow a broader explanation. Closing. Director, do you want to go first for the MM?
Me, Speaker, let me ask the director not to respond. He attempted to respond and maybe degenerate, except to say that this council has resolved on some projects already in terms of fleet. Ebenezer is one of them. It's a resolution of this council. So I don't want to respond directly. This council has resolved to do something about it. When we look at this item, we said that committee, but maybe we must invite all councillors. That's what I was going to ask, instead of only the portfolio committee of that council. Because there's portions of land, phase 5 or 6 in Kwanokutula. What we want to propose to council is that phase 5 and 6 must focus, and which I've said to the human settlement section, they must go and identify the database for us, so that when we talk about phase 5 and phase 6, we know the database that we've got 110 or 90 people who are within this bracket, I don't call it. Then we approve phase 5 and 6 with FLIPS not only RDP houses, so that is why, when we look at the item, and after the discussion with the director and the manager, I felt, let's do a proper discussion, which I thought it's not gonna be sufficient in council, but maybe we should not invite only the portfolio councillors, all councillors, because it might not be backyard of Panokutula only. It could be the same thing in Kurland, but we have approved and adopted plans that includes flips and other projects that we are looking at through the council resolutions.
Thank you. Councillor Mhlanga, then Councillor Tsapai, then we're gonna move.
Speaker, no, I just want to say, I heard from grapevine that the minister or the national minister is coming. I remember when they were here, she was sitting somewhere here, saying that they have funding for site and service in her office. So I hope that when she comes again, would have identified a land and say, this is the land. If you have the money, give us the money. We want to develop. That's correct, Speaker.
Councillor Tsapai.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I concur with Councillor Mangaba that we are still stuck in the past. And everybody knows that national government doesn't have money. We've got challenges. We're coming from COVID. There are so many challenges in terms of finances. Speaker, I think we must be clear when answering to communities. They are very intelligent people, and they are panicking. All over South Africa, you will hear that I've waited for more than 30 years for an RDP house. Government cannot afford RDP houses anymore now. Let's avail land for people to build their own houses. Because you will see in other areas, people get a plot and build their own houses in a service site. If I can put it very clear, we are concentrating, I can see the tone concentrating in Ebenezer now. There are service sites in Banukuru. They are well set. And they have been staying there bare for more than 10 years. So I think as a municipality, administration must come up with a plan because people have been panicking. They are not staying nicely in as backyard dwellers. Why are we not giving people land, especially the service sites? Because there will be needs and our people, as Councillor Mangaba was saying, is that there is a bracket that we are neglecting. And for that matter, we're not talking about the shell area. We're not talking about it. We are mum. It's sorted, it just needs investors or whoever who can build. Now, if then the administration is lazy of doing what we say, it's public participation. We're going to people and say, we need police, we need nurses, we need teachers who are going to apply. But what we will find in our areas is that RDPs are being taken by police. RDP are being taken by professional people because they don't have the space to stay. And I can ask you, where are you living, Speaker? Are you living in town?
I'm living in your horizon.
Yes. And you have closed a space for somebody who is very poor because you can afford. So I'm trying to say, Speaker, really, we must not play with the feelings of the people and stick to recommendations that are not going to take us anywhere, you see. So that recommendation must say, we will go and plan and come back to those backyard dwellers and give them what they need. Thank you very much.
Director, I will leave it now, Amen. Any comments from your side?
The MMS has covered all of the projects, just Koweni Phase 4 also has a flush.
Because the recommendation is for council to decide. That is what
what I
we're
wanted to-
proposing. So if council wants to change that recommendation, it's the council can change that recommendation. Just wanted to clarify that.
Guys, I will make a ruling on this, because the item has been closed.
Yes.
Can I ask that we not sit here today?
From my point of view, I'm gonna move on now.
The recommendation number 2 is clear. Item has been proposed and seconded. Let us not, in closing, comment on matters or things that will implicate ourselves going forward. The recommendation number 2 is clear there. Let's stick to it. The only matter that we've suggested is that we include all ward councillors going forward. These committees and have an open session. You can have non-voting councillors there as observers, give inputs before you go on to your closing votings on items. So please make sure that if the invite is there, Director, that we have a session to include councillors, specifically ward councillors. They can have time to make an input, but do not vote. Thank you. We will go on to the next item. It is item C, stroke 4, stroke 73, stroke 03, stroke 23. The municipal property subject to commercial lease agreements.
Page 236, the item is now serving.
Councillor Ndai.
Thank you, Speaker. I propose we go with the recommendations that is on page 2.
Is a proposal by Councillor Ndai. You said your hand, Councillor Kamkam?
Yes, it's my hand, Speaker. I just wanted to check something because I don't have my. Thank you, Speaker. Will second Councillor Ndai.
I just want to make sure that, Councillor Konopi, is that your hand? I know your hand was third.
I'm part of that portfolio committee, Speaker. My interest was, I wish that all those details can be shown, we deliberate on it. As much that I say on that I know for a fact, not just to deliberate and explain the list of those things. Or sometimes we are lazy to read only, because even now, things of other properties as a portfolio that we've dealt with, but it seems as if we're not doing anything. So I would love that to be deliberated on that so that people might know what we've decided today and the recommendation that goes with.
Councillor Kolop, I think that should have been done in the portfolio.
What I'm saying at portfolio, we did it, but for the sake of these people.
I was not attending a portfolio. I will be with you now. I get your point.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna, please note the item has been closed, but I'm just gonna allow Councillor Mangaba and then a small explanation for closing, and then we can go. Councillor Mangaba.
Thank you, Speaker. I got a bit excited when I actually saw this coming through, because I had been appealing the whole of last year that we need to somewhat get to a level where this council actually has a. Yeah. I've been appealing the whole of last year that we need to get an audited list of every piece of land and property that is out for rental and the end date of those leases. So we may know exactly where we stand where that is concerned. So that again, it may give a fair chance that everyone who actually wants to actually vie in actually either taking up a lease or running a business or doing whatever with the municipal properties. So I'm quite excited of this, but it's a bit of what's transpiring in this town. So I'm hoping with time that we'll have a solid presentation of every piece of land or property that is actually belonging to the municipality and it is being listed out.
Now, Speaker, you can give the portfolio committee members of that if they want to add additional explanation for the benefit of other councillors on the item, although it was.
Let me just give Councillor Mitchell and then.
Thank you, Chair. On the lease agreements of the municipality, I would love that we also table the amount of capital that we revenue from this properties. For as we know that there is these agreements with businesses is making millions and they paying little money back to the municipality.
Sure.
So we need to table that amount that they are paying on that lease agreements before we renew any lease agreement for any company or any land of the municipality. Thank you.
That will go to the portfolio. I think the chairperson is taking note of that. The chairperson of this portfolio, can we please have a explanation in what Councillor Kolwap has requested? Oh, the chairperson is not the apology. Is there any member who would just like to give a brief explanation?
Thank you. If the portfolio committee, when we debated this, have requested what council has already requested. They were in agreement to proceed with the expired leases, but requested that we submit the the lease register to the next portfolio committee. Now, the lease register we have already compiled and submitted to the audit committee at their request. And it was also a previous finding of the Auditor General that the municipality did not have a lease register. We have since commenced on the lease register, the amounts that rental that are being paid, councillor, as you will see, this item is also reflected. Also, whether or not the rentals are up to date according to what Revenue Services has. And that is what the portfolio committee have requested we do. And we are going to submit the lease register that we have at present to council, because the councillors in the committee have also requested that we submit even those leases that are still valid, for example, the country club.
Yes.
That we also submit those so that we can see the term of the rental, when it is going to expire, as well as the current rental that is being paid. And that is what the committee has asked us to do, and we will submit it now.
Thank you, Director. The next item, item C, stroke 4, stroke 75, stroke 03, stroke 23, the public participation process for service level agreement regional waste management facility, page 243. The item is now serving. Councillor Ndai.
Thank you, Speaker. I will propose we go with the recommendation by the municipal manager that is on page 245.
Proposed by Councillor Ndai. Councillor Wolofil. Seconded by Councillor Wolofil. That is community service, section 5, engineering services. First item, it's item C, stroke 5, stroke 51, stroke 02, stroke 23. The capital projects implementation plan in brackets CPIP. Progress report for period ending December 2022, which is quarter 2, page 1091. The item is now serving. Councillor Kamkam.
Speaker, I propose we go with the recommendations.
There's a proposal by Councillor Kamkam. Councillor Ndai.
I second it, Speaker.
Seconded by Councillor Ndai. Next item. Item C, stroke 5, stroke 53, stroke 02, stroke 23. The roads transport and stormwater operational reports for October, November, and December 2022. Item is on page 101101. The item is now serving. Can we have the recommendations, please? Item is serving. Councillor Ndai.
Thank you, Speaker. We take note of the recommendation. Thank you.
Councillor Wolofil. Next item, item C, stroke 5, stroke 58, stroke 03, stroke 23. The water and sanitation augmentation levies for ERF 7210, Oxford Shopping Centre, Kwanagatula, Ward 5. You would find the item on page 1117. The item is now serving. Councillor Kamka.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, if you look at the inputs from the different directorates, we are sort of stuck between a rock and a hard place. This is the second time this happens. I mean, we had the incident where we had to waive augmentation fees for the development in that state. Now we all want to really support development. We also want to support development, especially in our previously disadvantaged areas. However, I do feel that if you look at one of the comments, I want to ask, in terms of our policies, we should start to get standard across, where we are not forced into situations where as development comes, the building starts, we support situations where our pipelines and our infrastructure needs to be upgraded. And then we sit with a situation where the investor wants to pull out because we did not have our agreements in place. This puts us in a very difficult financial situation. We need to plan. And we cannot every time sit with the same situation where things are brought before council and council must waive fees. And as we know, the financial situation that we sit in, we also know that especially in the community of Kwanakatula, we do sit with a problem in terms of the sewer infrastructure. It's clear in that item also. So now we sit with two things. We sit with the one where the investor wants to pull out because of the affordability or because of our agreement. And then we also sit with the other flip side, where we need to internally now start to plan our capital investment to accommodate the same development. Now, let's get a standard. Let us then look in terms of our policies. Are we adhering to our policies? If we need to make amendment in our policies where we accommodate developments, we give them payment options, we give them rebates or discounts, or whatever options we have, we can look at so that we have a standard way of doing things. We really want to support this in principle. And we would go with these recommendations, to support these recommendations. But it's clear that we have a problem. And financially, we all know the situation that we are in. So it's been number one, it's been number two, regardless of whether it's in town, it's in the outskirts areas or whatever, but we need to understand it. Because now, in this financial year already, we sit with situations where buildings have been started, it gets to a certain level, and then we are faced with the situation. So we must be ready to have the conversation, and we have to have our inputs from our administrative professionals to tell us, council, these are the challenges, these are the policies that we can adopt to enhance development and to make it easier for businesses to come and develop in place. But we cannot sit with situations where every time it is a situation where we are forced to do something or forced to make a decision. We need to have a standard cut across, and that is just my comment, because it does implicate us financially. And some of the developers, I mean, even if you look at the building that are being put up in Main Street, I mean, that's a huge capital investment, but also there will be a return on that investment, but we are the ones losing out every time. Yeah, as I said, I would go with the recommendations, but we also have to make sure that these things come to portfolio for discussion, and it also needs to come to MACO for discussion. By the time we get to council, that all of us will have a chance to get our inputs that we need on this.
Thank you, Councillor Kamkam. It's now Councillor Ndai, then Councillor Mangaba. Then I will give for closing.
Thank you, Speaker. I'm covered by Councillor Kamkam. Then therefore I will second it, Speaker. I'm covered what Councillor Kamkam was saying. First, it has to, in future, it has to go to the portfolio committees and then goes to the MACO before it comes to the council.
Therefore, you second.
Yes, thank you.
Of that, it was proposed by Councillor Kamkam and then seconded by Councillor Ndai. Councillor Mangaba.
Thank you, Speaker. I had hoped that I was going to be recognized first so that we actually save time. Because I think delving into this item, I mean, it'll be as though this is an error that is done now and we are trying to rectify it now. This project was mentioned at the time we were waiving augmentation fees for the building license. So it's actually faults that actually took place around at the same time. And I'm hoping that the accounting office of municipality has actually stressed without fear or favor in that department that going forward, this is a standard of going about things so that we save ourselves funds. I am just worried that there's a note here on recommendation number 3, the waiving of augmentation levies and certificate to be issued once the bulk infrastructure is in place. I know that in their timelines, that development in KwaNokuthula, in their timelines, they were supposed to be launching by April or May. Meaning, when the bulk infrastructure upgrade is done, it will be done purely for that space. Because we know our bulk infrastructure is actually part of our capital project. I'm hoping that by the time they actually get to do that, it happens right in line with our capital project. Because my fear is we'll be sitting with a situation where bigger pipes will be feeding into smaller pipes again, meaning the community will actually be faced with teeming pipes and drain blockages and all of that will require us to actually sit at meetings where people are actually dissatisfied. So I'm hoping that by the time that bulk infrastructure is actually upgraded, it is right concurrent with our one, so that we don't get into a situation that, in as much as we think that project is there to actually better the community and create spaces for employment and convenience, whereas on the other end, my people will be sitting on thesis.
And the directors and the MM is taking note of that, Councillor. MM, do you wish to?
No, I don't know, Speaker, maybe. In the meeting, we said the horses, what is it, Victor?
Horses,
I'm faced with this reality, and I knew that we're going to be faced with this reality. And I presented last time that we're going to be faced with this reality. Ordinarily, it's not what I would bring to council, because our policies are very clear. Even if you look at the comments, but it is allowed that directors, they can differ with the recommendation of the municipality. So I look at the bigger picture here. They came with a machine built by us, not anyone else. Build the condition, if they want to open in July, we go back and tell them there's no capacity of the infrastructure. I think it's sewer in the main and water. There's no capacity. But why did we allow them to build when we knew that there's no capacity for sewer and infrastructure? That is where I'm sitting as an accounting officer now to say, we allow them to build. So what is a broader thing on this thing? I don't want to make the motivation in terms of job opportunities will be created and all of that. That is good for the economy. I'm looking only at the process. And you can go back quickly on the comments, you will see something that we have to deal with administratively. Town planning is asking, since when augmentation fees is payable? That's not their part. That's engineering department, because the engineering department has got an augmentation policy that is approved by this council. Theirs is town planning, building approval and all of that. So there's this difference because the developer believes after the consultation with town planning that they were not supposed to pay this money. That is their understanding. It's the same as this one, if you remember, that their consultation with town planning is that it was already zoned as a light industrial, so now the zone is not changing, so they must not pay. I think those things I've spoken to the directors, they must leave it. if they are not sure, for the accounting officer to make a decision. Then I bring that decision to council. You know, I look at the bigger picture now. These people contacted us, specifically myself, and I had a meeting with both the town planning and the director of engineering services. It's more than 3 months now. They've lost. They don't have now approved. Town planning cannot give them the approval of the building plans because town planning tells them, and this is how we work. This is where I'm sitting as accounting officer. Town planning says, no, I cannot give you building approval because I'm waiting for engineering to give you approval first that there's sufficient capacity. I mean, we're not different municipalities. We are one municipalities. So those are the concerns that I've noted on these two, and I'm hoping it's the last two. We're not going to find ourselves with this situation again. I've met with them. They are not refusing to pay the money. They are prepared. I think it's about 5 point something in total. Victor, it's about 5 point something in total. All that they are saying in these areas, you allowed us, you gave us the impression that there is capacity. Had we have known that there's no capacity, we would have agreed at that time and factored that in terms of our planning, either to pay that money upfront or and pull away from this development, you know. So the reason it didn't go to Section 80 is because it's not a decision of Section 80. It can only be a decision of council in terms of waiving because of the value of the amount. But I think we can also correct it going forward and look at the delegation, you know.
Yes,
I would still prefer not to have that delegation to approve waivers, even if it's 10,000. But other implication, you know, and perceptions, you know, so I would prefer to bring it openly to council. Council knows what it is about as my recommendation, and then council can take a decision because we discussed the issue of delegation that maybe up until 1 million, the MM or the director of engineering must approve the waiver, but I think it's got other risk on its own. Yeah, thanks, Speaker.
Before I wanted only one councillor more, I must make, because we must still go through the others. Can I only allow? Are you putting me on the spot here? Okay, let me allow the three of you, but please, can we make sure that we speak directly, and then we will close, and then we will move. I will only allow the three of you more, just to have an extensive debate, and then we will go. Councillor Kapai, then Councillor Koloi.
Speaker, I would like the official to go back to the comments of the director. Speaker, that's a comment by the Director of Economic Planning, Development and Planning is concerning, and whatever the municipal manager discussed with the company or the developer might backtrack on what they have agreed upon. That is why I'm saying it is, and this is out there in the open now. The developer might backtrack. Now, I don't want to put the director on the spot because we are councillors and they are professionals in this. Mine was to say we must be given an opportunity to take us through, you see. But nonetheless, if you remember the development on the main street, it was advocated very strongly that we must waiver. I don't know whether because it was in a affluent ward. Now we're talking about Kwanuktula, and the people are emphasizing. So I think then the comments such as that one between officials, and it tells again that officials, I don't think they meet and discuss first. Whatever department that is given a task, it just does its own duties, and the other one does its own duties. That is why we are in this quagmire, because whoever wants to develop their policies, their set rules, but now the policies and set rules are not being implemented as much as we have loved. So I think it is I just wanted to voice it out that it is concerning that comment can be put that way. So Speaker, also again, because of we've given a waiver to Ward 2, and therefore we must give a waiver to that development in Ward 5. Thank you very much.
Councillor Kamkam, Councillor Kolobi, then we will go. Are you covered?
Yes, I'm covered, Speaker. I just wanted to clarify, and I think Councillor Kabai also raised that issue. The reason why I also refer to the policies is exactly because of if you read comments from the different directorates, it is concerning that there's no synergy. We're obviously not talking to one another. And it seems like the one directorate is questioning our policies. So I'm not talking about us changing our delegations or us changing our way of what council has decided on. I'm simply saying that we're starting to have a trend now where two developments, we had to do this because of decisions that were taken. So clearly there's a problem. And the MMS now said that moving forward, hopefully we will not have the same challenges because these is obviously historical challenges. And the reason why I said that we need to have councils, need to have a chance, exactly what Councillor Kabai said now. If we had a chance to, for instance, have this in a portfolio or in a MACO, we could have asked for the directorate to explain themselves because the one director is not here now that we can ask. Why do you make such a comment? That's the only thing. I just wanted to be clear. I'm not challenging the decision. We agree with the decision. We support it. It's already supported. It's already recommended. But clearly we've got an internal problem. Thank you.
Councillor Kolobi, then we will go. The item will move.
We always speak about consequences of rectifying things. I would love that we add a recommendation to the municipal manager recommendation that says, as you can understand, this thing was raised from the time we were speaking of this development. And having that kind of comments and differentiation of ideas, they fight about it. It was not even supposed that we get that kind of thing, because I think warned us from onset that the same thing that is happening there, it will come out. And official directors were supposed to sit down, as Councillor Kapai alluding that seemingly there's no way of them to talk together. The last time they were even angry in front of us, showing that the other one is not taking the other one's advice or whatever. It's like this. Official says, again, they didn't go back to their delegation and their, what can I say, their policies. So what I would love us to add there, to cover even ourselves, our back, that it shows that we can see there's a conflict of policy or understanding of delegation or whatever, then they need, every time when we've got a development, let's make sure to go back to our policies. Do they speak to what we are having? And also to go back to our delegation book. Every time it should be our Bible, our delegation book, so that we should not have. So let's add that kind of recommendation.
You can't go back, Councillor Kolobi.
Just before.
I just to add it now.
No, we can't. The item is closed. We will.
Oh, it's closed.
I appeal to you, and then I'll tell you why, because at the end of the day, I'm the director that must make a decision. And my decision is that I differ with town planning. Can I just give Victor to explain augmentation fee, because here is dealing with the augmentation fee which is payable for and the bulk infrastructure. Can you just explain that, please? You know, town planning, if you look at their comment, including all the other development, their view is that, which is not a policy matter. If the property is already zoned for commercial purposes, there's no need for augmentation, according to which policy? Now, a point of departure for me, there is an augmentation-free policy that is approved by council.
Yeah.
I accept when you raise your opinion, you know, but I have to work in terms of what are the policy guidelines and rules. And councillor's advice is correct. Because a developer now can drag this thing if they want to and say, it's public knowledge, we're not supposed to pay. We're not paying this amount. And the whole development is stuck again. The building is standing there. If it gets vandalized, they blame us and all of those things. That's why I thought let's find a way of resolving. Let Victor quickly explain this so that we close this matter, you know.
Very quickly, because we can't be held liable sitting here with things we have elected directors here. But when it comes to council, we each time must be sorry for directors not doing their jobs and things. When the day when we elected, can we please, we make sure because we elected fully now, it's like, we must maybe certain things here. It can't be always like that. It'll be the last time. Then can you please, we speak and show that you are wrong. Probably very quick, but not in the long way of the council meeting. Can't waste time there, always maybe something.
So this incident happened way before I was even appointed here. In fact, I had a discussion in the CFO's office with the official town planning that go ahead for that building to proceed. At that time, no service level agreement was in place, no building plans were approved, the augmentation fees weren't paid. Those are the key fundamental principles that we've got in our policy and in the regulations as far as augmentation fees are concerned. And I think the CFO witnessed how upset I was. But the official all he did was say, remember, I did it according to the national building regulations. So he didn't look at our policy. We went to proceed and did what he did. There goes the horse. Now we're going to have to try to step on my edge. I mean, the decision to waive the fees is not the only way we could bring this horse back into
the issue of
and augmentation fees. Just quickly, if a development zone, say a business, for instance, and there's nothing on that property, no one can calculate augmentation fees because we don't know what type of business is going to be on. Is it going to be a spaza shop? Is it going to be a pick and pay hypermarket? We do not know that. So just because a property is zoned, it cannot be assumed that there is bulbs in place. The person that establishes builds a dwelling pays less than the person that puts a pick and pay hypermarket on that property. So augmentation fees has to be paid up front for capacity building in electricity, water, sewer, and even Melanie's waste collection fee. She's got to have capacity at transfer sites and the waste disposal site. So all municipalities in South Africa have to obey their regulations and have created their policies for environment regulations. Sorry to speak quickly, that was just an opinion. I did speak to the acting director and also Mr. Gericke. Hopefully they understand.
So, Speaker, just on the funding has been made available in the draft budget. That 1.6 is covered, is made available.
Okay, I'm going to make a ruling. We're going to go now to the next item. Councillor, can you please stand down? Can't have another policy workshop in council now. We're attending.
No, it's a workshop. It's okay, Speaker. If you're not going to allow me to
go,
if you're not going to allow me to speak,
no.
Be ready.
Making a ruling to close.
Be ready for people to close and to when by people are sitting on feces. Because my appeal was.
Oh, we will continue, Councillor. Can we stand down? Can I ask you to stand down, Councillor, please? Next item, Councillor's order, please. Next item.
Lay it out there.
It's an addendum.
Correct.
And I'm on the floor, Councillor. Can we please? Next item is an addendum. It is item C.
/5/59/03/23.
the electricity cost of supply study final report with the revenue requirement and new tariff structures.
Page 1015. The item is now serving. Quickly, MM.
Speaker, I'm not gonna start with the same statement because you'll probably be angry. Apology. I was in Edinburgh yesterday. Jermaine is here to explain. All that I can say is that this is a requirement that tariffs must be cost effective. Went through a process of doing cost effective study for electricity. And unfortunately, this is supposed to be part of the workshop to inform councillors how that structure of the tariff is going to change. However, we're going to have that workshop through now because we have to apply to NERSA now. After this council meeting, we have to apply to NERSA, so NERSA must give approval to us in terms of the change on the structure. But I appeal that Jermaine explained or the director, because I don't want to apologize. The item was sent, I think about 3, 4 yesterday, but I know I was in the interviews at the cathedral.
Okay. So we, Councillor Kapan.
Speaker, I just on the layman's understanding, why I'm going to say this, because it talks about electricity. Speaker, I want to bring it to council. There is an outcry out there about electricity. We need to discuss this, even if we must find time, because it is a burden to our people. There is this notion that when you buy electricity, I'll take it the way I understand it, Speaker. On the 1st of April, you will buy electricity with 100 rands. There's VAT and you get your units, better units, because we are starting the month. And moreover, when you move, Speaker, towards the month, you buy units for 100 rand, you get less. And electricity is very expensive. Now, communities have an outcry about this notion. Where is it coming from? Is it NERSA who is saying this must be done? What is council saying about this? Because we must be clear to people, you see. Because again, people are using electricity. I have never seen people just lighting their stoves and leave them there. It's because either they are cooking easy, you see, but you'll find out that the way electricity runs, it finishes very quickly, and then they must go back and buy again, and then they get fewer units. So I don't know, Speaker, but we must sit down and find ways on how are we then going to be able to curb this challenge, because our people don't understand this. I just want to put it, I think it will be explained also. How is it? Because we must go also as councillors and explain to our people. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Speaker, let me just give to Jermaine based on your.
So before I give Jermaine, start to give Felix what Councillor Kapa is raising. It needs to be explained, and we agreed that in the public meetings, it also needs to be explained. Or you'll deal with it. Okay, Jermaine will deal with it.
Mr. Jermaine?
I can only give you bad news, Councillor, from my side. That as Councillor sitting here, you have no control, unfortunately, on this. Unless there is some lobbying collectively by all municipalities through SALCA. But as it stands now, we have no control of this. Okay.
Jermaine?
Thank you, Speaker. Good morning, President, councillors. I appreciate the opportunity. So let me start off with clarifying maybe the purpose, because then it becomes clear that I can address councillors' concern of the IBT. That's what it's called. It's the IBT block tariffs. But first of all, ESNAP being the energy regulator requires municipalities to do cost of supply studies every 5 years in accordance with the electricity pricing policy, or whenever you have a major change that you are proposing in terms of your tariff structure. Now, that was the trigger in this case because of the uptake of a lot of SSEGs that came on board due to the climate of South Africa in the energy space at the moment. So we've appointed a consultant. They conducted a cost of supply study. They started last year already. And the aim of this cost of supply study is to determine how much money does it cost council to bring electricity to a household. How much do we actually pay in terms of bulk purchases, in terms of your salaries, everything electricity related to bring electricity to the household? And once you have determined that cost of supply, you put the data in a model, and then it presents a revenue requirement at the end. So you would say, in this case, we've done a test model for 2021, 2022. It would say the cost was 215 million rands. And now NERSA would say, in terms of the pricing policy and the cost of supply guidelines, you are allowed to add a surplus on top of that in order to recover the revenue and service the town. So that is what the cost of supply study is aiming at doing, and this is what is in front of council at the moment. When it comes to the actual tariffs, that then determines how do you get to your revenue requirement. If the projection says you need for the next financial year 300 million rands in order to service your bulk purchases, your salaries, everything electricity related, you would then develop a tariff structure to say, listen, this is how much we will require in terms of your customer base. And that's what also have been done here in this space. So part of that tariff structure is what we call the IBT block tariffs, the inclined block tariffs. Now, what the council is referring to is that you have various inclined blocks that has different tariff rates attached to it. If you have the first block, it comes at, let's say, 1 rand. The second block is 1 rand 50. The third block is 1 rand 80, and so forth. So as I'm going to try and be as simple as possible, because it is very complicated. If you buy at the beginning of the month, the first 50 units comes at a lower rate. And then when you buy more than that 50 units, it starts with the next block. So for the first 50 units, you would pay, let's say 1 rand, and then after the 1 rand, you would end up paying 1 rand 50 going forward for the next block. And the next block is from 51 all the way to 350, etc., etc. So when you have 100 rands in your hand at the beginning of the month and you purchase of that 100 rand, it will first deduct that first 50 at that rate. And then the balance of that 100 rands will go towards VAT and your second block. This also determines why, this also shows why when you get to later in the month, you've already gone beyond the 50 and maybe the 350 margin. Now you're paying in the third block with that same 100 rands. And now 1 unit costs you maybe 1 rand 80, which is now way more for the same units. And then it becomes more expensive. And that's the reason why you get less electricity for that same 100 rands. So there's a lot of municipalities that have complained to NERSA and say this is not a good tariff, it's a punitive tariff. And so what we have decided in this cost of supply is to say, let's get rid of the IBT tariff and let's introduce what we call a flat rate tariff. So that whenever you buy electricity, it will always be at that flat rate instead of the inclining blocks. And then we've also included a basic charge on the various tariff structures that exist. So I'm hoping that answers councillor's concern in how it's done.
Do you want to do a follow-up?
Yes. I want to do a follow-up. Speaker, this is very serious. You looked at me as if you are saying no. I'm very excited about the explanation that we are using an inclining block, and it's very expensive, not only for the poor, also for the middle income. Now, when we are talking about flat rates, meaning, does it mean when you buy with 100 rands throughout the month, you will be charged the same amount? What amount then are we going to cap as council? If we are saying, for example, it's R1.05, that is going to be charged by them. I'm just making an example. So are we going to stick on that?
Speaker, proposed, that's precisely, Councillor, the reason I had to agree late done that this item myself, so that not only for the application to NERSA, perhaps I should apologize, but I will agree to the director. The next week will pass, is the Easter week. After that week, workshop, because this was supposed to be part of the workshop, but I don't want to blame it again because there was a lot of back and forth consultation with the consultant and how we view this, and also consultation with the CFO. Let's do a proper workshop. All that I'm interested from my side, put my account there under this inclining block now. How much I buy with R1, simplify it, and with the proposed one, what will be the change? Because that is what we have to make it simple when we start public participation. So I think we've done all the policies. This is the only matter that we will do a workshop, because we need to all understand. Namasa, it's complicated to me. I would prefer to know what is this change bringing and what is this change saying. But we actually propose that we do away with the inclining block. It has created just a lot of problems for municipalities, just a lot of inquiries and unhappiness from the communities in terms of that.
Speaker, it's a suggestion to what the MM was saying. I will suggest that, Speaker, it must not be only councillors. What committees must be there, and also people of interest. We will get a lot of information because people really know. It's not only us who think we know. So if then we invite what committees and also people of interest, people that are affected, whoever that thinks can give advice on how then, because also as councillors or as council, we must say, if we do this, we will lose there, and so on and so forth. Thank you.
Councillor Mitchell, then the executive mayor.
Chair, thank you. I just want to ask who's the consultant doing studies, the reform, and how long are they appointed?
Yes, through your speaker. So we have appointed GLS Consulting, who is doing the work for us. They have been appointed. The project was supposed to be completed by the end of December. But because what the MM has said with the back and forth, they are still helping us get through the process, because the scope was for them to help us get through the process with NERSA.
Thank you. Executive Mayor.
Thank you, Speaker. I thank Councillor Gabai for that question because I think 90% of the Bitou public are confused about how this incremental system works, that they often call a sliding scale. And they find it very confusing, especially when readings are not done and averages are taken on accounts. That's when it becomes particularly confusing. So I think our public in Bitou will be unanimous in the that they would prefer a flat rate, and it makes the accounts more understandable, and they at least know where their money is going and what they're getting for it. So yes, I'm looking forward to that happening.
The item is still serving. It was just opinions. Are you proposing executive man? Councillor Tabai?
Second.
Second.
Are you concerned about my second of the item?
No. So you made me want to ask for clarity what the mayor said.
He's praying that That's not going to happen. Oh, no, seeking this council.
It's your floor as well, sir. That deals with engineering service. We continue to section 6. Are you still right there, Councillor Ndai?
Yes, Speaker.
Almost there, my dear. First item under section 6, item C, stroke 6, stroke 76, stroke 03, stroke 23. The administrative matters regarding constituting of Bitou Municipal Planning Tribunal members for second term. The item is on page 1128. The item is now serving. Councillor Nell.
Speaker, I propose that we go with the recommendation and re-advertise as suggested.
Proposed by Councillor Nell. Councillor Ndai.
Second, Speaker.
Seconded by Councillor Ndai. Next item, item C, stroke 6, stroke 77, stroke 03, stroke 23. The Small Boat Harbour Western Cape Marina Investment Pty Ltd heads of agreement, page 1131. The item is now serving. Councillor Nell.
Speaker, I propose that we go with the recommendation and that the Western Cape Marina Investments be given notice of the intention to cancel the agreement in the terms as explained.
Councillor Ndai.
Second,
Explanations.
Second, Speaker.
No explanation of this item.
Next item, item C, stroke 6, stroke 79, stroke 03, stroke 23. The Pisang Valley Road in brackets DR 1775 proposed location.
Speaker, I'm still asking. I know it has already been seconded. Can we give a brief deliberation about this thing of a small boat harbor? It used to be a fight on the other side that others were wanted a small boat harbor, others this, and it's the first time it comes to our attention. Can I just be deliberated? What are the recommendations and everything for about?
No, Councillor Nell, we think these things have been discussed in the portfolios. There's opportunities created, I understand. So we will move now.
What is that?
I'll talk to you afterwards.
Next item.
What is that, Speaker?
Item C. I've already read into the record. I've read the item there.
Yes, Speaker.
Okay, the item is on page 1193. Item is now serving.
Speaker, I propose that we go with the recommendation, but we pay special attention to the cost of repairing these roads before we take ownership of the roads by the Garden Route District Municipality, that we do not incur those costs afterwards. And I know that Engineer Felton would like to comment as well.
It's quite important that we read, Speaker. It's actually included in number 5, bold and highlighted.
Is concluded. Councillor now proposed. Councillor Ndai.
Second, Speaker.
We cannot.
The engineer would like to.
The recommendation, just quickly, number 2 does not speak to number 1. I think they got the year wrong one under recommendation number 2. It should be 2023. That works to what?
February 2023.
They want us to be specialist of everything.
2023.
You can paste that, this thing, Mr. Mayor. Those copies and paste that from 2013. this government.
Last item. Item C, stroke 6, stroke 80, stroke 03, stroke 23. It is the airport proposed master lease agreements between the Plettenberg Bay Hangar Owners Association and the municipality on page 1198. The item is now serving. Councillor Olivier, Councillor Ndai,
Seconded, Speaker.
proposed by Councillor Olivier, seconded by Councillor Ndai.
Second.
Executive Mayor?
I just have a concern. Do we know what rental we're going to be getting for this? Do we know what rental we're going to be getting? Because it doesn't seem to be clear what we're going to do.
Yes, well, Mr. Mayor, that is very important.
Speaker. Now we open. Councillor Tabai, about lecturing, is there an answer to the Executive Mayor?
Just already close the speak.
No, we're not recommending.
If we follow.
No, we're not going back to the item. Not the recommendation, closing comments.
If you follow the trend, you don't even need to entertain that.
Councillor Kuluapi?
Please, Speaker.
Item is
On the other side, you do it on the other side.
Speaker, this is a limiting.
Please.
The item is closed. Can you stand down?
For now,
From your,
No, that was a relevant question by the executive, because this issue of hangar owners been coming, and really, what are they paying? Are we losing or winning here? It's a municipal property. Are we getting what we are deserved to? Because that is the residents' property.
Or are they paying 90 cents?
any comments, or can we vote?
No, Chair, let's follow the procedure. In the reporting in terms of implementation of council resolution, I've asked the department to make that, I'm afraid that open an item that.
No, we're not going back.
So let's report in the council resolution, but I see, I can't read it properly. The director was trying to show me number 4, but number 3, sorry, but now that the hangers, that the authority be delegated to the municipal manager to, negotiating and determine aspects to be included. I cannot see it properly, my eyes. I think let's report back in terms of,
Thank you,
must move.
That's it for the portfolio of index. We continue under the order of business on point 11. Urgent matter submitted by the municipal manager. Nothing. Point 12, consideration of notice of motions. Nothing. The consideration of motions of exigencies, none received. We will now go into in committee. I just want to make, are you? In minutes.
Too tired.
We take a 10 minutes break for the administration to prepare, get back into in committee.
So tell me, so from next year, July to February, that is the terror, what you're saying.